Well, here's where we are so far with the bus. We've taken out the subfloor, removed all the extraneous wires and the coolant system that went to the heater core back here. And we've done some grinding to take off the surface rust. We haven't gotten to this side yet. This is kind of what it looked like before we were grinding on the other side. And so today we're going to try to get all this flaky rust off with the braided wire wheel. And you kind of come this way. We got stopped here at the cockpit area of the bus, and we wanted to pull up this subfloor, but we had to take the seat out and this platform, and we got stuck on this platform. So eventually we were able to figure out that there was a bolt going through here and here to the subframe for this platform. I was able to get under the bottom of the bus and get that out with Marilyn's help on the top. I took the nut off on the bottom, and it still wouldn't come up. We would pull this and we couldn't figure out what was attaching the rest of this platform to the subfloor. Well, it turns out that there's another set of this square tubing up here, and there was no way to get to it. And on the bottom of the bus, it's channeled. There's a welded piece of channel that doesn't give you access if there's a nut under there. So we couldn't figure out how to get this out. So the brute force decision today was on this first one was to drill a hole. It wasn't big enough, and then I just got the grinder out and I cut enough of a hole. I don't know if you can see down in there. Probably hard to see, but there was a 1/2 inch bolt buried down in there with no way to get to it. No access on the top of this plate. On the other side, we decided to drill a hole out of it with a hole saw. I was able to get it big enough to get the, let me see. I could get this down there far enough to get it on the bolt head, and just backed it out. And sure enough, it was just screwed into the steel. The steel was threaded beneath it with no way to access this. Just really crazy idea. It was made to pretty much never come out. Another interesting question I got was, well, why not just keep this subfloor since it's all underneath this module anyway? And the answer to that was, I did find that this was leaking coolant. It's obvious that there's this big coolant stain in here, and it's coming down from here somewhere. So yeah, it would be easier to just cut this off like we've done right here and end the decking, the new decking right here, and just keep this in place. But with all of that coolant is coolant mixed with mostly water. And so this has had a chance to soak the steel underneath this piece of wood for who knows how long. And so it is likely rusted under there. So if I were to shortcut this process, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to take all this stuff out and replace this deck. It would be much easier to just leave it in. But later on, it would really suck to have to come back in here and tear this whole thing out again just to grind this down and repair rust underneath. So we're going to make the decision to take this entire deck out and grind it out, put some chassis saver on it, and redeck it.
Something I wanted to add is the method that Marilyn used to get off the rubber skins on the wheel wells. She tried a couple of options, but found that the hammer and chisel worked really well. And, of course, she made it look really easy, like almost everything she does.
So Marilyn's been doing most of the grinding of the bus, trying to get the surface rust off of the bottom Tell me about your technique and what do you find works the best when you're doing the grinding or the rust?
So we're using the wire, the braided wire wheel, which is much better because then the individual metal bristles don't come off. And I find that it just goes a lot quicker and it's a lot more effective. And then for protection, I'm just using this little mask and then obviously respirator and gloves, knee pads really help. And and then I'm also just have some soundproof headphones on.
We saran wrapped the Bose
So they don't get
headphones so they
dust
don't
in
get
them,
rust dust in them.
but I can still
That way
listen to
Marilyn
music.
can listen to all her favorite tunes, noise cancellation while she's
Yep.
grinding.
Super nice.
All right.
Okay.
Ready for pancakes, Marilyn? Protein pancakes, blueberry, raspberry, banana. Yummy. Well, we're almost ready to paint the subfloor. We've been grinding and grinding things off, cleaning things up. It's been a bit longer of a job than I expected, but I think we're finally ready. We really washed this thing down, put some degreaser on it, and I think we're going to start at the front, paint the subfloor up there, and just work our way back. We're about to turn the subfloor into a beautiful chassis saver. Where we are getting ready to lay the subfloor. First thing we're going to do is put down some of this XPS foamular, and this is 2 inch insulation. We're going to stop here at 2 inches, and then for the back brace, to give something for the deck to screw down onto, we're going to attach this with some self-tapping Tech screws. But one thing we noticed that there's a little bit of a lip here, this little lip, which made this a tiny bit, just a little bit too tall for this 2 inch dimension on the foam. So in order to grab that dimension, make it fit nice and snug, perfectly flat, is this came up a little bit and we just marked along this piece of wood, and then Alex just went and just took off the tiniest bit, maybe a 16th to an 18th of, or 16th to an 1/8 of an inch off of this piece, and now it fits perfectly.
There you go.
When cutting this 2 inch XPS foam board, there's always the issue of when you make the cut, is it going to be 90 degrees? And when you're just making slices or cutting without an edge, that angle can actually go out or in. So we're running the length of the blade next to the 2x4 here to keep it straight through the width of the board. planner. I love to have everything dimensioned out, drawn out to scale before we start this project. And before we did this, I did a drawing of the layout of the bus with all the cuts of the XPS on the first layer and then the OSB on the second layer. So we had the dimensions here where we could get to work on pre-cutting all of the pieces, but when you're working with a real carpenter, Alex thought, just since the bus isn't perfectly square, the floor's not incredibly flat, he would rather come in and make the measurements in the cut measurements with the piece in the bus. And that's what we're going to do now. And so this is what I've learned today, is that I drew out the cuts for this on my drawing, and Alex had a method of actually coming in here and making those cuts perfect by just putting tape on the floor and then drawing the dimensions through the tape transferring onto the XPS. And it worked out beautifully. So I'm going to trust Alex from now on. And even though my engineering brain wants to do this, it's just a reference at this point.
No, it's very important too. Bingo?
Bingo. Double bingo. Oh,
Perfect?
perfect. Interference fit. We are about to start on our subfloor. We've cut all the pieces. We've dimensioned the various openings in the back of the bus. We have one for the gas tank opening, and then also have one for the gas fill. And we're using this extruded polystyrene styrofoam, and it's 2 inches thick. Got an R rating of 10. We're going to glue that down with some of this Locktight PL, and on top of that, we're using this really great product, Advantec. It's a subfloor. It has a lifetime warranty, moisture resistant, super flat. So first stage is to get a couple of pieces of styrofoam glued in, nice and secure. Then we'll start adding some subfloor, sandbag that, and away we go. That I've been dreading and looking forward to was getting the decking down on the bus, and it was a lot harder than I thought it'd be. We got about 60% of it done. I'll show you what that looks like. What we noticed is that the flooring on this bus has the very slightest little camber to it, and so we doubled up on the sandbags that we thought we'd need for it, just to make sure that we're really getting good adhesion with the Locktight PL. And it turned out pretty good.